I got a few comments asking for this one, and interestingly enough, this was hard to find. You know, this is some rare gourmet shit right here, dude. It took me like 30 minutes to find this. You may not believe me, but if you look FromSoft games and DLC, holy fuck, dude, there's like 7 ads. All of these, you know, they either don't have the DLC or they count like Dark Souls. They don't separate between the remasters. So, you know, we're going to talk about this. I don't have a PS4, so we're not talking about Demon Souls. We're not talking about Bloodborne either. Dark Souls 1. You're hitting me with the hard one. Whew. Oh, this is going to be rough. Okay, the original Dark Souls, let's talk about it. It is the best world. The interconnectedness is unique, and they never did it again for some reason. The lack of fast travel is awesome. You know what? I'm really between here and here. So here's my reasoning for maybe saying here, is because we all know that this is godlike. Everybody knows the Dark Souls DLC is the best. But the thing is, the Dark Souls DLC is so much better than Dark Souls that it really makes me question if Dark Souls itself deserves that. Nah, Dark Souls 1 is fucking amazing. The world, the NPCs, the music. Yeah, no, it's really hard to argue against that. Dark Souls Remastered, on the other hand, is noticeably worse than the original game. If you want a good example of this, Cat Dark Souls Remaster. The Dark Souls Remaster changes so much that you can make an 1.5-hour video comparing all the little differences. Oh, and in case you're wondering, this picture's from the remaster. For some reason, this game got a massive graphical downgrade. The remaster's on the right, in case you couldn't tell. The most obvious place where this is the Black Dragon Calamite. Now, hold on. I don't care about any of this shit. I care about Calamite. Where is Calamite? Yeah, Calamite practically looks like a different fucking enemy altogether. But hold on. Dark Souls Remaster Calamite. For some reason, the remaster's lighting absolutely killed this boss. So this is the original. Okay, get a good look at this. Yeah, mind you, this is the old one. Now look, this is the new one. Why does it look so... It's like they added a light source at the top and it just gave even lighting to the entire arena. You see what I'm saying? You know, it's like, look at this and then look at this. It genuinely... And this is the kind of thing where once you notice it, you can't not notice it. And it really genuinely subtracts from the entire game. Let me put it to you this way. Whenever I want to play through Dark Souls, my last 5 playthroughs of Dark Souls have all been Prepare to Die edition. They have not been on the remaster. The remaster also made unnecessary changes to the online system. And I don't know. It changed a lot. It's more like a reimagining than a remaster. Dark Souls 2. Yoink. So Dark Souls 2, the original. You know what? Let me just do this as well. Hold on. While we're at it. Scholar. Scholar is just a downgrade in most aspects to Dark Souls 2. And if you want an example of this, Dark Souls 2 Scholar is a downgrade. This is a good video. Again, from... Hold on, let me find it. This one from Feeble King. This video is honestly really good. if you want to, if you want a more in-depth explanation as to the changes. But Scholar actually changed a lot. Like, it's to the point where I don't consider Scholar to be the same as Dark Souls 2. There's changes that I like, and there's changes that I don't. Some of them get surprisingly technical, and some of them are just completely unnecessary. A lot of it has to do with enemy placements. Also, I'm playing with an autistic fidget toy. That's what this sound is. Listen, all right, when I get really stressed and sad like this, I fucking, I play with these little autism toys, and they make me feel a lot better. Okay, shut the fuck up. Anyway, Scholar is in many ways worse. There are more enemies. There's more ganks. They like to throw higher tier enemies at you. But there's also been, like, some ganks that were removed, most notably the very first major encounter when you're climbing up that ladder in the Forest of the Giants. Anyway, let's talk about the DLCs. Okay. Ivory King is as good as Dark Souls 2 gets. The Sunken King isn't bad. And I don't like the Old Iron King. Actually, I'm going to say the Old Iron King is the worst part of Dark Souls 2. Yes, Sir Alone is a good boss fight. We all know Sir Alone is a good boss fight. Everyone knows that. But let's be honest with ourselves. Sir Alone cannot carry a DLC. The time limit sucks. Navigating the tower is a lot of vertical movement, which is something Dark Souls has never been good at. It wasn't until Elden Ring and Sekiro that FromSoft really tackled the idea of vertical traversal being important. So it's just a lot of sitting around and waiting for elevators or making leaps of faith. They reused the Smelter Demon and just made him harder. And it's like, okay, that would be like if the Dark Souls 1 DLC had you fight Ornstein and Smo in both their super forms at the same time. It's like, okay, thanks for that. The Sunken King area is very cool. The story it's trying to tell is very cool. Sin is a very... Okay, he's not a very anything. He's just hovers on the gooder tier of things. His story's pretty tragic, so that gets bonus points from me. It's more so the area is just so goddamn memorable. The actual, like, sunken area is really memorable. And I mean, come on. The Ivory King, great boss fight, great setup. Honestly, actually, no. You know what? I can't put that there in good faith. Now that I'm starting to talk about it. The Frigid Outskirts is such a bad fucking area that it single-handedly sandbags this DLC. When I think about this DLC in S tier, I'm thinking entirely about the second half of it. The first half of this DLC is like down here. And now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember the last time I've played through this DLC. Because every time... No, you know what? This actually goes down here, now that I think about it. Because every single time I want to start playing this DLC, I remember that the frozen outskirts are a thing, and then I just don't do it. I just don't do it. I just go do something else. And then I never come back around to it. Yeah, the frozen outskirts are actually just that fucking bad that they have stopped me from replaying this. I think the only DLC that I play through every time I play through Dark Souls 2 is Crown of the Sunken King. The other twos, it's 50-50 if I play through them. Okay, Dark Souls 3 is either A tier or S tier. Let me talk. You know, let's put this up here for now, but let me talk for a second. You know, let me cook. You know, as the retards would say. So, a lot of it is reused from Dark Souls 1. Yeah, sure, but I don't care. The combat system is better than Dark Souls 1. The PvP is better than Dark Souls 1. The areas aren't as memorable, and a lot of the music isn't as good. There's more build variety. The game is better balanced. I like some of the bosses. The game is longer. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Dark Souls 3 is up there with Dark Souls 1. It's not as good. Dark Souls 1 is definitely superior because Dark Souls 3 is more of a product. I mean, first off, Miyazaki didn't want to make it. And second off, it does not hold a lot of the original design You know, the world's not interconnected at all. It's just a linear series of levels that leads to a boss. Then you warp back to a central point and then go down another linear series of levels that leads to a boss. And then that's it. That's the entire game. It is different than Dark Souls 1, but I don't feel like it is that much worse. Ashes of Ariandel, however, I'm going to be honest, it kind of sucks. Ashes of Ariandel, I don't think is very good. Everyone remembers this DLC for one thing. This DLC has the same exact thing going on as the Iron King, in that everybody remembers the final boss fight. But guys, let's be honest. Do you remember dropping down that tree? Again, shitty vertical movement makes up like the first 15% of the DLC. So that sucks. There's like zero story going on here. This is a very rushed DLC. You know, it's like half the length of Artorias of the Abyss, and it's about as long as one of the one of the King DLCs in Dark Souls 2, which were just like $3 little mini stories that all led to a secret ending, sort of. And, you know, that was cool. They were cool because they were more than the sum of their parts. Ashes of Ariandel is a standalone thing, and the area isn't particularly good. It didn't add anything to the game. Yeah, Ashes of Ariandel is a king level Dark Souls 2 DLC trying to stand alone as an Artorias type of thing. However, the Ring City is fucking amazing. It added relevant weapons. It added the PvP arena. So it made mechanical changes that made the game better, that added to it. That's something Ariandel didn't do. It had more than one boss fight. No, wait, let me correct myself. Ariandel had the Grave Tender. Yeah, okay. Literally just an upscaled wolf in a generic NPC battle, given a boss fight. Okay. But it had multiple... The Ring City was much more of an actual DLC. It actually felt like a DLC for the game. Whereas Ashes of Ariandel feels like it only exists for the ending moment of revealing that everything is a painting, including the world that you currently reside in, and that, like, the rot of the deep is just the painting, you know, aging and, like, molding, and that the ash is just the painting's inevitable decay, and you're just creating the next world with the remnants of this one. And that is a massive reveal, that all of the worlds of all of the Souls games are all just various paintings in various stages of decay. That was cool, and that really does feel like the only reason this entire DLC exists. So really, this could have just been bundled into that. Yoink. Yoink. Sekiro is some of FromSoft's greatest work. It is an example of a AAA developer. You know, they have AAA talent, AAA budget, and they were given free reign to do exactly what they want. And they had one guy holding everything together as a central design vision. So a big problem with modern video games is that they are products meant to be sold. They are designed by committee, focus groups, what we think will make profit. Sekiro was made by one man for the most part, Miyazaki. His vision, his design, he was the final say on everything. He did not have shareholders to really answer to. This was one man's artistic vision given the experience, size, and budget of a AAA team. And it was completely unhindered. And it led to, in my opinion, the best video game in, like, the last 10 years. Sekiro is genuinely one of the best games ever made. And it's probably one of the best games in the last 20 or 30 years, if we're being honest. Seriously, Sekiro is one of those games where, listen, I am an absolute neckbeard, okay? I spend most of my 24 years alive either playing video games, researching video games, watching reviews for video games, helping write reviews for video games. I I probably know more about video games as a whole as an industry than like 95% of everyone alive. Just because of the sheer amount of time I've invested learning all the little tricks of writing, composition, how they're made, etc. So that left me with a really jaded taste in my mouth with a lot of games, because I recognize right away that a lot of games are designed by committee. A lot of games are not artistic projects where there's one passionate person deciding keeping a coherent vision. A lot of games are, made by boardroom, and it just reeks, and it shows why they are so bad. Like, look at the controversy going on with Sweet Baby. People, will clamor and complain about, oh, it's woke. Oh, they're adding woke writing. But it's like, has anyone stopped to consider for a second? Look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Why does a game need 12 different writers? And then why do you need to hire a writing consultancy firm? Video games are art. They are artistic projects. And for art to live up to its artistic potential, it has to be raw emotion from one or a few people sharing a coherent vision. So something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a made-for-market product made by 12 different writers that are not sharing a vision. Then it has to get sent off to a politically motivated writing consultancy. And it's like, okay, if this is just artistic expression, why do you need a third-party group to come in and say, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, blah, 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 blah? Guys, it's art. It's expression. You cannot make good art without offending people. If you hire an agency with the express purpose of making your game more, appeasing the masses, you've quite literally failed as an artist. There has never been a good artist who said the words, I need to hire someone to influence my vision so that my vision doesn't affect people. The point of art is to make you feel something. So when you hire people with the express intent of neutering your vision so that it is more palatable to the masses, you have completely failed at making art, and your game is never going to be truly great because of it. And that's part of why I like Sekiro in the original Dark Souls so much, because it is just one man's vision. And yes, I know games are not made by one person. I know that there were people that helped him make it. But at the end of the day, he got final say on most everything. And he spent many a sleepless night double checking everyone's work to make sure that it lined up with his vision. And it led to an absolutely beautiful game where to give you an example of just how good this game really is, not only did every single person in the Academy agree it was the best game of the year, it's also one of the highest rated user games of all time. So virtually everyone who played it and didn't get filtered by the difficulty agreed it's one of the best games they've ever played. Even the institutional critics with agendas and institutional money behind them could not deny the sheer artistic prowess on display with this game. Sekiro is one of those games where if you tell me you don't like it or you don't think it's a masterpiece, then I automatically know that objectively speaking, you have horrible taste. Because this is one of the few times where the plebeian masses, the critics, the hardcore gamers, the casual gamers, and the Academy and the political institutions, not a single one of these groups could deny that this was a masterpiece. So if something is that fucking good, that if you're the one contrarian who's like, no, actually this sucks, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I genuinely don't know what to tell you. No, you know what? Sekiro is so good, it's actually getting its own tier. S for Sekiro. That is genuinely how good this game is. And it really shows. And I feel like if you don't have as deep of a love for Sekiro as a lot of people do, something went over your head in some way. You either ruined the experience by looking up spoilers, using cheats to make it easier. This is one of those cases where I can actually say if you don't like it, there's probably something this is a you issue. Okay, anyway, after that absolute dick-sucking section, Elden Ring. Elden Ring is either here or here. I'm kind of leaning more towards here for the simple fact that it's just unfinished. Elden Ring is an evolving game, and I feel like it's not fair to rate it right now. Elden Ring has the potential to go up here. It genuinely really does. But I played Elden Ring day one. I 100%ed Elden Ring. I have screenshots that I showed my someone that I used to talk to. I had the red wolf in the academy, Rhea Lucaria. When I got that achievement, I was the 0.1% people on Steam that had that achievement. I was progressing through the game and no-lifing it so hard that I was in the 0.1% of people. Literally, like notable speedrunners streaming their first playthrough, I was hours ahead of them. That is how dedicated I was to playing this game. And as a result of that, most of the NPC quests just flat out weren't finished when the game came out. Elden Ring now is a different experience than Elden Ring on launch. So I haven't really got to sit down and savor a more complete version of Elden Ring, but we know the DLC is going to come out, and it's very likely going to have another DLC as well. So we probably will not see the final incarnation of Elden Ring until, at best, another year from now. At the longest, another 3 or 4 years from now. So if we do get another DLC and then another round of patches, which is what seems to be fairly likely, you're genuinely looking at like 3 years for the game to like really be complete and finished. And it's like, that's when you want to go back, do a 100% playthrough where you take it really slow and you savor it and you look at all the little changes. And I feel like then it has the potential to go up, into these upper echelons. But Elden Ring is weird. Like, I almost want to put it in its own tier because it launched very unfinished. It is now in a state where the base game is like mostly finished and it's been mostly balanced. And we're just waiting on DLC. So Elden Ring is kind of too early to call. I'm gonna put it up here for now for the simple fact that when I can think of my own subjective opinion on the game and my own experience playing it, this game has a very magical place in my heart that can't really be replicated by anything else. And knowing the track record of FromSoft, that these big passion projects that they tend to do usually end up being in a league of their own, this is one of the only times I will ever say I actually have hope and faith that they're going to knock it out of the park, because they've spent the last 12 years making masterpiece after masterpiece, and they haven't changed the development formula for this one. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Is there anything I'd change around? Oh, I don't know why this is on here. This is not out yet. Guess it's just a little bit of future-proofing. But is there anything I want to change here or elaborate on? Not really. I know some people are going to take issue with this stuff, but guys, Scholar and the Remaster, they really are just downgrades. For the most part. Scholar did do some things better. So maybe Scholar deserves A tier, but it also changed like how enemies spawn and stuff, like how they respawn. It's just a lot of the criticisms people have with Dark Souls 2 are Scholar exclusive issues. And if I pull up Steam here, oh yeah, and by the way, to give you an example that I do actually know quite a lot of what I'm talking about here, I 100%ed every single FromSoft game, including Nioh, which is not a FromSoft game, but I really wish Nioh was on this list. Oh, by the way, real quick, if Nioh was on this list, Nioh 1 would be right here, and Nioh 2, hold on, real quick. Nioh 2. What the fuck? Why did that? Okay, add row below. Call this Sekiro. And if we use Bloodborne as a stand-in, Nio would be right here, and Nio 2 would be right here. Because, I honestly kind of just want to talk about Nio as a whole, but I'm not going to do that here. Nio is genuinely one of the better games I've ever played. It is up there. But, let's see. So, I already showed that the remaster is just, for the most part, kind of a downgrade. The Dark Souls 1 remaster. The biggest problem I have with the Dark Souls 1 remaster is it completely split the player base of the original Dark Souls. Like, this did nothing but subtract from the Dark Souls 1 experience as a whole. And now when people think of Dark Souls, they think of this. Oh, you want another example of this? Dark Souls Demaster. Because... hello? Okay. Another really, like, unignorable issue with this is the depths. Look, remind you, the remaster's on the right. The original is on the left. And you'll see the most, like, absurd area of this is, you know that area where there's the torch-wielding guys? Like this. Like, look at the difference in lighting. For some reason, Dark Souls Remastered, all it did was, like, add a permanent light source on the roof of every map, which raises the light level of every single texture. That's why Dark Souls 1, you know, Dark Souls 1 used the exact same trick that Dead Space 1 used. That's why Dead Space 1, despite coming out literally almost a decade ago, or no, I'm sorry, almost 2 decades ago. Yeah, dude, Dead Space came out in like 2008 or like 2007. Or no, wasn't it 2006? Hold on. When did Dead Space 1 come out? 2008. In 4 more years, more like 3 and some change years, this game's going to be 20 years old. Dude, in like 3 and some change years, this game is going to be fucking like old enough to drink and get railed for a living on camera. Yet, if you look at screenshots from Dead Space 1, hold on, Dead Space, oh fuck. If you look at some screenshots of Dead Space 1, looking good, where the lighting was really effectively used, you know, you look at a picture like this, and it's like, this game came out 20 years ago? What? This game came out, like this, you know, like this stuff came out, like this came out almost the same year as fucking Oblivion? This game came out like a year and a half after Oblivion? What? You know, that's the kind of thing that makes you go crazy. So lighting makes a huge difference. Ironically, this game objectively looks like worse than Dead Space 1, whereas this kind of matches it. Like, this is a prime example. Like, where is this light source coming from? Why is the light coming in from this angle? And why is there just more light as a whole? It makes these dark and gritty areas seem far less dark and far less gritty. I really want to find the one spot. So you have to forgive me for a second. I want to find the one spot because there's one spot where this is so painfully bad, it's like unavoidable. Yeah, like this is another one. Like, what the hell happened here? This area was destroyed by the remaster. What the fuck is this? Genuinely try telling me that, like, you will never convince me. Let me go frame by frame here. You will never convince me that this picture we're looking at right now came out in like 2016. And, okay, wait, frame by frame is not gonna work. You will never convince me. You will never convince me that, where is it? In a second. This is almost 20 years old now. This is like 5 years old. Never. You're never going to convince me of that. You're never going to convince me of that. it's just such a difference. But yeah, that's my justification for the remaster. It's just paying to make the game worse. Oh, and the reason why I point out this, if I go to my library and I go to Dark Souls, you can't buy these anymore. So you will never be able, unless you do some crazy jank, you will never be able to experience the original intended experience of these two games. And considering how big of the changes, see, the Dark Souls changes are just visual. But, oh wait, did they relist Dark Souls 2? No, you can buy, wait, what? You can buy the season pass, but you can still buy the bundle, but you can't buy it out of the bundle. This game got relisted. Yeah, look. This is so weird. You can't buy, you can only buy Scholar. They won't let you buy the original Dark Souls 2, but there's a way around it if you buy the DLC bundle, because the DLCs are still listed, and because they're listed, the bundle that lists the unlisted game is still... Oh, look at that. When you hover over it, it's listed as Crown of the Sunken King. So this is just straight up like a Steam error. Like, this is probably not going to be around forever. This is weird. Does this game even show up if you search it on Steam? Hold on. Dark Souls. Okay, so the original Dark Souls 2 does still show up. Interesting. But there has been some effort to try and prevent you from getting access to this. You have to go through that bundle jank. This shows up first. They try to redirect you to buying Scholar. And the Crown DLCs are Dark Souls 2 All Crowns. When you have all crowns, you get this really, really nice scene with Vendrick, where he basically gives you a far more, in-depth explanation of the lore and the world. And that scene really, really makes the game a lot better, in my opinion. And the fact that it's all a mystery that builds up to this one conversation, I don't know. I just find it really cool. They are the sum of their parts. Or, I'm sorry, they are more than the sum of their parts. But if you just look at the Iron King, Dark Souls 2, Iron King DLC, this DLC really was just kind of shit. We'll just look at some random guy. Oh, Jesus Christ, not this. But this, I mean, look, I literally clicked on a random fucking playthrough and clicked to a random part of a random playthrough on YouTube of the Iron King. What do we see? Fucking ladder. Fucking climbing down a ladder. So much of this DLC is vertical momentum and doors and traps and random shit like this. Like, look, it's all vertical. It's all about like scaling this iron tower. And I'm sorry, but before Elden, look, again, we've been tabbing through, and it's like we've just seen basically 15 minutes of fucking ladders and drops and towers and edges. And it's like Souls games are notorious for bad platforming causing unfair deaths. It wasn't until Elden Ring that they really they really buckled down and tightened up the traversal aspect and really incorporated traversal into a thing. Why is it that the Iron King is more frustrating to traversal than this? Frenzy Flame Drop. Why is it that this drop down in Elden Ring is smoother and more consistent than the entirety of that fucking DLC? Why is that a thing? You know? Like, this looks like a nightmare, but because of the Elden Ring movement mechanics, look at how smooth and clean this is and how not CBT this shit is. But then you look at Iron King platforming and it's like, oh my god. Souls 2, Iron King platform. And it's just like, It's just like, why is this such a thing? And then the Ivory King, oh my fucking god, the Ivory King, the fucking frigid outskirts are terrible. If you don't know about the frigid outskirts, oh my god, dude. Like, I honestly might put that in C tier just because of the frigid outskirts. But yeah, this list looks pretty good.